Okay, my couture crafters, I am sick and I might have a coughing fit in the middle of this, but we're just gonna go with it because that's just what we're gonna do. I am making a card with the Tons Wreath. This wreath is from their newest release. That sucker is big too. It's so much bigger than I had anticipated. It's big, like 6 by 6 big, like not 7 inches the way I want things to. I want things to be 7 inches. Come on, just one company make me a 7 inch stamp. But anyway, I just cut that down to 6.5 by 7.5. And I'm scoring at 3. So that way I get an inch hangover. Now I'm going to grab my favorite bone folder, the Teflon bone folder. It makes a difference. It's extremely expensive for no reason, but for a reason because it's great. Now I'm getting ready to peel that ginormous stamp off the back, and we are going to try to figure out if we can place it the way that we want. Now, I'm trying to use my mini Misty here, but it's a fail. I really need the Tim Holtz platform for this. You can certainly do it freehand if you have a block that's big enough, but that's a big stamp, so I suggest using a stamp platform if you can. Now I'm rearranging it. I'm trying to figure out where I want it to go. And this doesn't work because the stamp is impeding the platform from closing, so that's a fail. I'm going to have to flip it around again. See, I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, that's not going to work. It's caught on the end there. So we're going to move it over, which I didn't want to do. I wanted it to be in that corner, but you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. There's probably a way to figure it out, but nobody had time for that. So I just put it at the 3 inch mark at the bottom. I lined it up at 3 inches, and then I put that stamp right where I wanted it to go. And I'm placing it upside down right now. I'm working upside down on my cardstock. You're going to see me flip it around in just a second to make sure that it is the height that I want it to be. And I usually stamp closing my platform to the right. It's just what's most comfortable for me. So we're going to pull out some VersaFine Clear ink. No, not VersaFine Clear. We're going to pull out Versamark Clear. Not clear. Versamark Clear ink. This is clear. All it is a sticky ink so that it can grab our embossing powder. Now I'm doing a little CPR. You really want to make sure you get a good impression. I could see that I missed one spot, so I put it down and I did a little CPR, a little more CPR, and I felt good about that. And this actually took a great impression. This is a regular piece of copy paper. I just folded it in half to make a funnel. And now I'm throwing rose gold powder. I got this rose gold powder from the Ton. It's by Avery L. And we are going to funnel it right back into that jar. We do not waste powder around here. Close up the top, and now we are going to have a full-fledged fight with our heat gun. I pulled it out the wall. I don't know what I was doing under there. I thought it was on, then I thought it was broken, and I was having a time with my heater. And this is a new one, so I was like, why isn't it working? Because it wasn't plugged in. The kinds of things that happen at Mac's house daily. So I finally got it going. And I warmed it up a little bit, so I just left it running for a little while, and then I started to make little gentle passes and melt the powder. If you look at it, I'm trying to get it close enough so that you guys can see the powder melting. This is not the best example. I feel like I have a better one on my channel somewhere. No clue where, but you get the picture. The powder, it's stuck on there, then you melt it, and it does a nice little impression, and there you go. Heat embossing. I went ahead and heated the other side just to kind of get some even heat distribution. Made sure that everything was melted, and now we can play. I'm about to do the unthinkable. Something you have never seen me do on my channel. I'm about to what? It's coming. Color. What? Yep, I have a whole set of Faber Castels that I have never used before. I don't think I have ever used those. What I did find out is that I really like Faber Castels. I like those way better than Prisma. So I just started out with a lighter purple and a darker purple for those little berries. They're so small that it really doesn't matter how you color, in my opinion. I am not a colorist. That is not my gift at all. This is not what I do. But I was in the mood to lay down some color, and I like the look of coloring over colored cardstock. I really like how it looks when you color over black. So I'm grabbing the dark green, and the way that I'm coloring is where it's touching is where I am going to go the darkest. Now, that could possibly be very wrong. Some people talk about the direction of the light and they get all into this, and that is not what I'm doing here. I just want to add a little dimension to these leaves. So I'm doing gradients on all the leaves the same way that I would pretty much do my eyeshadow. And everybody knows how much I love my eyeshadow. So I'm using this medium green right now to go over the dark green. I'm blending it. So I laid down the dark green leaves all over on all the leaves. I did all the leaves that were, green. And now I'm just blending it out. See, it's pretty. Again, not a colorist. There are so many people out there who can color their butts off. This is not what I do. But I can, fake it till I make it. So now I'm grabbing the lightest green color and I'm just playing with it and blending down into that. I really like the way these greens came out with those purples. If I were doing this again, I would have made the poinsettias purple. Now, in my mind, all I wanted them to have in this set was a Thanksgiving or Happy Thanksgiving. I'm like, why can't this wreath be for Thanksgiving? Somebody asked in one of the groups for a fall card. And I was like, why can't a poinsettia be fall? I've decided it can. But there was no sentiment. Oh, I was just driven insane by that. So in my mind, I'm trying to make this a fall wreath. Please don't bust my bubble and say it's not. Please. Here, I laid down the darkest color red first. Then I'm going in with an orange. Now, some people do it backwards. Some people will lay down the lightest color first and then go over it and work their way back and forth with layers and pushing, different levels of pressure. Some people talk about smoothing out the paper. People do this. This is not what I do. Again, I'm just trying to get a nice gradient. Now, at the very tips, I wanted it to kind of have a yellow-orange kind of vibe. So I threw some yellow-orange and used that to blend it down. And I'm pleased with the way it came out. It gave it some dimension. It's a pretty color story. I'm good with this. I am not a colorist, but I'm pleased. Like, that's pretty, right? It's pretty. So, again, back to the sentiment. I was sick that I couldn't find a sentiment to work. I really wanted just a simple thank you that I could have stamped down the side. Ugh, you guys, when I tell you I was sick about it, I was just, because I just knew there was a thank you in the set. There is not a thank you in the set. I was wrong. I like using my Misty for this. You can certainly use your Tim Holtz platform. You do not need to have both. If you're going to have just one, the Tim Holtz platform is the way to go. But I'm using my mini Misty. I am using that pencil to poke it because when I do it with my hands, it gets stuck. So I took all this time to do swatches, so you best believe I'm going to start using them. So I pulled them out like I didn't know what color I wanted to use. For this, I decided to use a pigment ink. I wanted the color to be a little more saturated, although you have to be careful because it takes these a while to dry. So I'm grabbing my VersaFine clear ink this time in Fantasia. And I'm stamping in purple. That makes me happy. You can't really see it in person, but in person you can see that it's purple. Here it just kind of looks like it's black, but it is indeed purple that's stamped on that olive paper, which is so pretty. These colors were chosen by somebody in the group, I think. I think somebody said some olives and ivory and gold, so this is what you get. This paper is from Gina K Designs, and it's from the Fruit of the Season from last year's stamp set. I'm glad that I'm getting a chance to use it. That cardstock is quite nice. It is definitely an upgrade from the Michaels that I regularly use. That cardstock right there probably made the difference in my coloring. I did not use the right size paper for this envelope. I forgot that this is not a 3 by 7.5 card. This is actually a 3.5 by 7.5 inch card. That makes a difference. But we're just going to go with it and pretend like the card is going to fit. It's not, but we're going to pretend. This is my design idea. I am going to just stamp the whole wreath, leaving the middle for the address. It's genius, actually. It's a fail, but it's genius. So this is where the large Tim Holtz platform comes in, because you can stick a 12 by 12 sheet of paper in there and really pretty much get a stamp anywhere on a 12 by 12 sheet of paper using that platform. And you see the hole where the address goes? What? Genius. Such a fail. Such a fail. It was funny when I figured it out too. I was like, uh-oh. I just put that to the side. We'll revisit that. I'm using Queen for a Day Catherine Pooler dye ink for this because I don't want to wait for it to dry, and I know that I'm going to be folding the paper right after I stamp it, so I don't have time for that. And dye ink dries almost instantly. So we're going to do a little CPR, make sure that we get a good impression. This is a huge stamp, so you are definitely going to want to use a stamp platform if you can. Excuse me. And that took me a while to get a decent impression, but that's okay. Now, because I was doing those swatches for the past couple of weeks, I just happen to have baby wipes and stamp cleaner right next to me. I don't usually have that. I don't usually show myself cleaning stamps, but hey, it's right there. I'm using that Ranger stamp cleaner, not the best stamp cleaner in the world, but it'll work for today. See how that dye ink is dry already? Yes. Now let's talk about this envelope. When you have a skinny envelope, you have to cut off the tips when you're doing homemade envelopes because they will overlap. Because I like to seal my envelopes, I like to cut the top in half so that it kind of meets in the half so that you're not trying to seal a flap that's at the very bottom. I hope that makes sense. So you'll see right now that the bottom part comes all the way up to the top, not a problem. This is the bottom that we're doing right now. And I'm just using some double-sided tape for that. And you'll see when you close it that the bottom part comes all the way up to the top. But the top stops at the middle. And that's because I like to seal my stuff. I didn't show the seal because the card didn't fit, blah, blah, blah. You know the story. But that's it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I will talk with you later.